And we're back, Stripe Show podcast on a Tuesday. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day. Hope you're off to a decent start this week as we roll on. I know the PGA Tour has come to conclusion, Rory McIlroy winning the FedEx Cup playoffs, but we don't stop here. Professional golf, it's, well, for all intents and purposes, it's on fire literally right now in many ways. So many storylines. LIV Golf is playing this week in Boston. We'll get into that, but just a lot of discussion points as I got up this morning and I'm making notes for my guest here. I was filling up like 2 or 3 pages and I'm like, I don't think we have time to talk about all this. So I got to, whittle it down a little bit, but that's how many storylines there are. Joining me from Scottsdale, Aaron Oberhoser. How you doing, bud?
How are you doing?
I'm good. You guys are doing a great job out there. On the set. I had Damon Hack on a couple weeks ago, and I said, look, for what it's worth, you're doing a great job really articulating this on what's happening. And I know there's a lot of things being thrown at you, and some of it is, it's kind of tough to talk about, I'd have to think, because there's just a lot of unknowns and things that are happening. Then you get into the legal stuff where none of us are lawyers and talking about through that. So it's hard to kind of bring it all together, right, and make it make sense. And I think what's even more disturbing is we don't know where it's going to be in 2 years from now, maybe even just a year from now. God knows, 10 years from now, what professional golf is going to look like. And as we wake up here this morning, Aaron, there's 6 players that have decided now to sign on with LIV post-tour championship on the PGA Tour. Of course, Cam Smith, no surprise. We've been hearing that. Joaquin Niemann, the young Chilean, is going. HV3, the American, Mark Leishman, another Australian, Cameron Tringali, and Annabon Lahiri. Those are the new 6 heading over. They will be in the field, I believe, all 6 of those when they tee it up in Boston on Friday. I look at this field in Boston for LIV, and it looks pretty damn good, Aaron. I mean, the field is pretty strong. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the field is definitely their best field to date. You got the number 2 ranked player in the world in Cam Smith. You got the number 19 in Joaquin Niemann. And the first thought that came to my mind was poor Trevor Immelman.
Yeah,
quite honestly,
yep.
About the President's Cup and all the work that he and Carmenita have put into that, and the effort that it takes to be a captain and being fairly close with Trevor from a colleague standpoint, and working with him a lot, traveling with him a lot, going out to dinners with him and talking with him a lot. I know exactly how much work, well, not exactly, but I have a good idea of how much work has gone into the international side of the President's Cup. And he has done an incredible job to create an incredible experience. And I feel bad for him that he's not going to have the best players. From what I understand, they're not going to still not going to be allowed to play. And he's not going to have the best players that he could possibly have to field a team to go up against that American side, which is the depth is obviously the talent of the first 12 are phenomenal, but then the depth of the American team is out of control, quite honestly.
It looks like Mito Pereira, the other Chilean. That's going to help. I was surprised. I thought he would follow Joaquin Niemann and LIV. I really did.
I did too. I thought for sure Pereira was gone. Nice to see that he stayed for the President's Cup and for Trevor. Which is not to say that he might not leave after the President's Cup, but we don't know. But I think that it's going to be, it's going to give a bunch of other internationals who are younger, who don't have the experience, it's going to give those guys experience and at that level, and it's going to give them a really nice experience, a good experience for them to kind of get their teeth wet. You never know. You look what happened with Scotty Scheffler at the Ryder Cup. Scotty was a phenomenal player before, and then he became 100%. He was world class before the Ryder Cup, and the Ryder Cup turned him into what we see today.
That's right.
So that could happen to one of these young international players where it takes them to whatever their next level, based on their talent, could potentially be.
Yeah, I'm hearing rumors on some of the American picks. There's going to be perhaps 1 or 2 that you may have thought we're going to make it from a pick, but not. We won't get into that too much, as those picks will be made public, I think, on September 7th. But, you look at all this and obviously the deciding factor. And I said this probably a couple months ago. I said, we're going to a time where the biggest events in golf, as we have known them up to our point, are no longer that important to players. The President's Cup is not the Ryder Cup. We know that, but it's still a significant team event that players do tend to rally around. It's fun to watch. It's great TV. It's got a history. It has a legacy. And it's clearly not as important to a Cam Smith or to a Joaquin Niemann or a Dustin Johnson. These guys have obviously went and taken the money from LIV, and now they're not going to play in that. We're going down a point here in the next year with these major championships. We don't know what's going to happen with these majors and how they're going to treat this, but I kind of think that it doesn't matter to some of these players. Okay, I'm fine. I'm not going to play in the major championships. I'll sacrifice it for the amount of money I'm making. It's kind of where we are, isn't it?
It is where we are. I kind of thought about it this way. If I were to go look at, and I haven't done this, so this is completely off the cuff. How many players in the history of the PGA Tour, now the money's obviously ramping up, but how many in the history of the PGA Tour have made over $100 million in their career? What, 1, 2? Tiger, Phil, maybe Dustin got close.
Yeah.
So maybe 2 guys have made $100 million. So you're going to take a Cam Smith who probably wasn't going to make $100 million earning $100 million playing the PGA Tour, and you're going to offer him $100 million to go play, pardon the expression, but it's my opinion, the exhibition golf, 50 holes, no cut, 48 dudes, and shotgun starts. It's exhibition golf. It's until they change that, it'll always become known to me as the member guest tour. It is. It's not. In my opinion, it's not proper competition.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a proper format for championship level golf. I don't care what they say about growing the game. So that's hard to say no to, though.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You can, because to a lot of these guys, like a Cam Smith, he's exempt into the majors for the next 5 years. So for him, it's an easy yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm going to play the 4 most important tournaments of the year every year for the next 5 years. Okay, I don't play the players.
Yeah.
Pending litigation and what the outcome of the antitrust suit is, obviously.
Yep, right.
So assuming that the antitrust suit is in favor of the PGA Tour, they're giving up all PGA Tour events in infinitely. I mean, they're gone. But he's got the majors for the next 5 years, and we don't know exactly what the majors are going to do and what their criteria is going to be going forward. So, you and I both, everybody's seeing this happen in real time.
Yeah.
It's just that's why I think it's so up in the air and everything's just thrown into confusion, because this wasn't properly planned out on either side. The tour didn't take the threat seriously, in my opinion. And LIV didn't, in my opinion, really doesn't. They're just like, okay, let's do this. And, oh, okay, well, let's do this. And, oh, well, that worked. Let's do more of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't hashed out and planned down to where every I was dotted and every T was crossed.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that all ideas need to be, but I think that's why we have the influx of issues and why the golf world's kind of up in going in a million different directions right now, is because of the chaos that is upon us right now. And it is. It's
chaos.
I don't even know if it's organized chaos.
Yeah. It's chaos.
It's just chaos.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this, though, Trav, that the one good thing that LIV has created that I can think of is that it's forced the PGA Tour to look at itself in the mirror and make changes that, as a player, I think were as if I put my player's hat on and not my analyst hat on, that have been long overdue and proper. Competition and disruption is not a bad thing in the business world.
Mm-mm.
It forces you to get better. It forces you to change. And the PGA Tour for the longest time was stuck in its ways because they didn't need to change. They weren't forced to change. And now they see what Saudi money, whether you are into it or not,
Right.
what the money has done coming from the Saudis, what it's done is it's forced the tour to make changes that I think in a lot of ways are positive changes for the membership of the PGA Tour.
Well, we'll get to that, and we're gonna, because I have some questions on that and the timeline of these changes that I want to get your thoughts on. But I think about where pro golf is at right now, and I compare it to college football, of course, which starts this weekend. And college football in many ways has some chaos right now, and what's happening. I mean, the NIL situation and how players are receiving money, whether you agree with that or not, and how it's different in every state. I was listening to Jimbo Fisher talk about how it's different in Texas versus other states and what they can and can't do for NIL situations, the conference realignments. I mean, my goodness, the transfer portal, all of these things, Aaron, like when we were in school and growing up, the tradition and the legacy of college football, it's over. Like it's completely changed. You have Texas and Oklahoma, for crying out loud, joining the SEC. You have California schools going to the Big Ten. The Pac-10 is in shambles. It is chaos.
The Pac-12 is gone. It's
gone. It's gone.
Pac-12 is done. Yeah.
So it's hard to, it's the way that you think about it or had been thinking about it and have been watching it completely different now moving forward. You'll never see it the same. And all of it, of course, is driven by the amount of money and where that money's coming from and where it goes. The kids deserve part of it. The schools deserve part of it. The conferences deserve part of it. And it's greed and it's cutthroat. And we're willing to do whatever we want to do or need to do to get more of that piece of the pie. It doesn't matter what it used to be. I don't care whose feelings I'm hurting. I don't care about this. I want more of the money. Right. And that's what's happening in college football. Now you fast forward to golf. Of course, here comes LIV. They're paying these crazy amounts of money. And now you've got players, right? They're going to go sign up for that. They want that money. And now the tour's forced to counter. And now there all this influx of money coming in. And it's all around this big gobs of money and who can get the most of it. Right. Like we know that. We know that's important. And I guess there's some good to that. There's some positive to that from a PGA Tour perspective. The people that are winning right now are the players. I mean, the players, what a time to be alive as a player. I mean, my goodness, like you are maximizing your earning potential right now. But the other side of it is, who's not winning? I mean, to me, the fans not winning here. I mean, it's in such shambles right now. And there's such a divide on these players that you used to cheer for. Now they're over there. I don't know, man. It's just, it's a hard one to really wrap your mind around. It's great for business and the podcast. I guess we're winning right now because we have something to talk about, but long-term, is this the right thing, for professional golf? I mean, I know people in college football live in the SEC country. They're going to go no matter what. It doesn't matter. Right? People are nuts down here for college football. Right. Yeah. But long-term, are people going to hang on to this with this professional golf, and they're going to tune in and they're going to watch all of this golf all over the place, YouTube, TV, etc.?
I think it's going to be harder for LIV without a TV contract. Yeah. Without a doubt. I think LIV's going to have a harder time without a proper linear TV contract. Digital it's coming along, but it's not. Streaming isn't still what you got to look at the golf audience. The golf audience is still people, I guess, just slightly younger than me, all the way into their 60s and 70s. That the golf audience is getting a little bit younger, but still, it's not. You're not, millennials aren't turning. That's not the biggest subset of the population watching professional golf.
Right.
So not on linear. it's going to be tough to find. If you really got to look for it and want to watch it, if you're going to go watch the live stuff on TV and not go to the events.
Yeah.
Whereas everybody knows, for the most part, most of the time, everybody knows where the PGA Tour's at. It's between Golf Channel on Thursday, Friday, and CBS and NBC on the weekends. So, including the majors, where you throw a little ESPN here and there. So I think that without a TV deal, Liv's gonna have a hard time really getting the competitive part of it out there.
Right.
As far as the format, it's interesting to hear because I think the format has something to do with, you got your hardcore, and listen, I'm 0.001% of the golfing population on the planet, and maybe even less than that, because I'm a former player who now works in television for golf. So I'm kind of I guess, for lack of a better term, I'm not the right audience
Yeah.
to really look at this from a objective lens, let's say. Okay, it's harder for me for a number of reasons, but number one reason being, I grew up in the game in a highly competitive way, like a lot of us who played on the PGA Tour and play on the PGA Tour did. And for me personally, although I'm not the one being shoved, $10 to $100 million in my face to come say, hey, come on over and play. Here's your cash. I have a hard time with the competitive aspect of it. I don't know how other fans view it. I think they're going to find a way. My basic point is, people are going to find a way to watch what they want to watch,
Right.
Whether it be Live Tour and their favorite players on the Live Tour, or whether it be the PGA Tour and their favorite players on the PGA Tour. I think that to your point is that it's been, the golf world's been spliced in two.
Yeah.
Just because people can't sit down at a table and talk.
Yeah, I think when you make it and you splice it in two, and there's this side and that side. I go back to what in baseball, when they had the strike, right? When the owners can't come to an agreement with the players, and you have this side and you have this side. They came back, the ratings were terrible. It took a while to kind of ramp that back up again. I think it's a similar situation with golf here. I really do. I think in the end, I think the fan, and I ask a lot of questions, kind of pay attention to some of my friends who are kind of fringe golf fans. They'll watch it, but it's not appointment television. And I think they're mainly turned off by it. I think it's kind of hard to understand what the hell's going on. Okay, so what do they do?
I guess it would be like, I don't know, name another country that comes in and starts, okay, we're going to start a world basketball league.
Right.
To challenge the NBA, or we're going to start a world football league to challenge the NFL, and they're throwing all this money around to get players to come out. Now, obviously those leagues are a little different. I guess if a player wanted to break what would be considered, if I'm not mistaken, the collective bargaining agreements, and break rank and go over there.
Yeah.
It's a little different, obviously, because these are individual players versus, which it's a lot easier to do that than it would be to break into a team-driven owner-owned league to a certain extent. But yeah, the disruption would be incredible, and it would make people mad.
Yeah.
I can understand where the hardcore golf fan is upset, for sure. I'm not too thrilled about it, because I always thought that both of these leagues could have survived. In the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour could have had its season, and the Live could have done individual deals for the fall. PGA Tour could have either nixed the fall season, or basically done something else with the entirety of the fall season to make room for the Live Tour to go in and play in the fall. And I think that was, and I was like, okay, well, that's when the idea was first thrown out there of this alternate tour, this Live Tour. I was like, oh, perfect. Put it in the fall. This is awesome. We'll have a fun format. that's not really competitive, but fun.
Exhibition.
And guys can make oodles of money.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like, they're going to have relegation, and it's going to be like, you know, it's going to be like F1 or Premier League soccer, and a combination of both. And you're going to have team owners, and it's going to be kind of cool. Well, that's the way I was hoping it was going to go. And now it's just been so combative because we got two guys in Norman and Jay Monahan who just, you know, oil and water, and they don't want to get along, and they don't want to play nice. And Norman wants to just basically, it seems like he just wants to bury the tour. It seems like around every corner.
Yeah, I think you have to see his intentions are pretty aggressive for sure. You know,
that's right.
I said you have to. I think it's understood that Greg Norman's intentions are pretty aggressive, considering he tried to do this years ago, and you know, I think Commissioner Fincham kind of put it into that with the World Golf Championships. And you bring up an interesting point with the fall series, and we're talking about this yesterday on the podcast, and we got Jim Farrick on tomorrow, and you know, we're going to get his thoughts on this as well. You know, I look at this schedule, right? That's coming out starting in the fall. Well, I mean, starts in 2 weeks, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And Fortinet Championship out in California. There are a total of 50 tournaments right now on the website. Now, 2 of those are Hit and Giggles in December. 4 of those are major championships. And then 1 of those is the President's Cup here in a few weeks.
So 41.
Okay. All right. So 41. Yeah. You're not, but you know, they're going to play the majors too, right? I mean, most of them are the ones that are eligible. So point being, it's a lot of damn tournaments, right? I mean, that is a lot of tournaments. Now, we know these tournament schedules are set well in advance. Like this tournament schedule wasn't set like 6 months ago thinking. This was 2-3 years ago. They're pushing these things, right? They're kind of rolling out. So I look at the schedule this year, Aaron, and the first thing that I think about is that the mindset of the tour, and you mentioned this earlier, has been the same, right? We just kind of roll out this another tournament, right? Okay, we're all the way up to now. Let's just call it 48, 47, whatever it was when you're counting the majors. And all of these tournaments are going to basically serve our membership, right? Member number 1, member number 200. We have to create opportunity for all of them. That's been the mindset, right? There's no pushback on that. We just keep doing that. That's been the model. We're comfortable with that. Off we go. My opinion, when I look at this, and this has been my opinion for a while, is that things just become very watered down. And what we get is what we got in July. Make no mistake, this is no disrespect to any player. It's not. I respect all players on the PGA Tour, and there's opportunity obviously within there. But when you do this approach, which is the tour has been doing and growing this, it gets watered down, and you get the schedule that you got in July. You get the John Deere field. You get the 3M. You get the Rocket. I mean, this is not the best foot forward for the PGA Tour. You're not leading with your stars, right? And to me, it's a star-driven league. And I think LIV has come in, they've exposed this. Now, they got a lot of money and they can throw it at it, but I also think that they have exposed a bit of this weakness in this just comfort zone thinking of just turning the wheels, and it got so watered down. And I think your top players feel like, look, you're probably leading us when you're trying to do deals with TV contracts and other sponsors. You're leading with the star's name, and we know there's probably about 18 to 20 of them that are the stars of the PGA Tour. But you're treating me no differently than this guy down here, right? So I've always said the tour has to start taking care of the meat and potatoes of the PGA Tour and leading with them. And now here we go with the elevated events, which I think is a good move, but it just feels very reactive to me from the threat of LIV. It just does. And I just question now the tour, can they regroup and execute, which is something that's going to be very, very different than what we're going to see this year that they've rolled out year in and year out. Is that fair?
I think they can execute. I do. I think they can execute. I think that they, because they were reactive rather than proactive. And this is, geez, it seems like it's human life as we know it since the dawn of man being more reactive than proactive.
Right.
Wait till it happens and then react. and that being proactive in certain situations might not be necessary. But when you get a sniff of competition,
Yeah.
I think for the most part, the businesses that survive, they're proactive. They're not reactive. They see what's coming or potentially what could come, and change is forced. Or you adapt or you die. It's that simple. PGA Tour has had to adapt very quickly due to this absolute threat of another rival business that they haven't had to deal with, ever.
Right.
Ever. I mean, the European Tour kind of was its own little thing over in Europe. Wasn't poaching players, had its own players, had its own deal, and it was kind of nice. Everybody played nicely in the same sandbox, and it made for great Ryder Cups, because not a lot of their guys played over here and not a lot of our guys played over there, hardly ever.
Yeah.
And so those Ryder Cups back in those days were amazing. Now everybody, on another note, on a sidebar, now everybody, the Ryder Cups are still good, but it's, now it's all hugs and kisses and chummy on both sides, which I don't know if I'm a huge fan of that, to be very honest with you. I still like to see the true rivalry.
Yeah.
But I think that the PGA Tour will be able to pull this off, Trav. I do think that the elevated events were necessary, but you're right, it is reactive.
Yeah.
It's reactive to exactly what LIV is, and I can understand where people are going, okay, well, it's just LIV 2.0. The PGA Tour is trying because they have to. Well, yeah, of course they're trying it because they have to. Do you want the PGA Tour to completely dissolve and go away? I know the answer for that for one person in this world is yes, but for the majority of people who love what the PGA Tour stands for and all the charitable work and everything that the PGA Tour does for charities across the United States and really around the world, that means something to a lot of people and a lot of the players.
Yeah.
So there are going to have to be some sacrifices made, for sure.
Yeah.
Which tournaments go, which tournaments stay, and again, to your point, I think the paring down and the contraction is going to make the remaining events, which ones in the future down the line survive, potentially going to make those events even stronger.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe even give even more money to charity.
Yeah. Well, I think so. Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be tricky because we're just kind of speculating what all this is going to look like. And I think we know the elevated events are going to happen. And it sounds like 15, 16 events, somewhere in there, right? So, I mean, let's just say that that's the PGA Tour. Let's just say the PGA Tour are those events.
Well, we had that when I played. We called it the Tiger Tour. So Tiger only played the majors, the WGCs, and a handful of other events, whether he was contractually obligated or he loved those golf courses. Obviously, Torrey, Jack's Place, Memorial, Bay Hill, Arnie's Place. So he loved those events. So we knew he was going to be there, even though he wasn't really contractually obligated to be there. He played those ridiculously well. So we had that back in the day. It was called the Tiger Tour. And I would imagine if you went back in the history of the TV ratings and you looked at the Tiger Tour events, what we nicknamed the Tiger Tour, and when you were top 50 in the world, you were on the Tiger Tour.
Yeah, you're on the Tiger Tour. Yep. It's awesome. Maybe that's what they call it.
It's basically, that's what it was. When I was on tour, if you were top 50 in the world, you were playing the Tiger Tour most of the time. And then maybe you'd sprinkle in a few more events here and there. Because most of us couldn't get away with just playing 17, 18, 19 events and make, $8 million, $9 million bucks. We had to play 22.
I love it. We
had to play 22 to 25, to make $1.5 million to $2.5 million or whatever it is, that it took to make the top 30 on the money list back in the day.
Yeah.
So I maybe we're just getting back to that.
I think that's it. I think that's what they should name it. You got the PGA Tour overarching, and then you have the Tiger events, or
Tiger,
whatever Tiger Tour. There's your 15, 16 events, your top 50. You have your FedEx Cup, wrapped around it, off you go, right? Big money, elevated purses. And then underneath that, you have whatever, you know, you have really good players that are playing other events. And those are showcased in the way that they can be showcased, right? And they're trying to get to here. They're trying to get,
so basically, I think what's going to do, this is what I think is going to happen. And this doesn't mean that it's going to happen. And people can think I'm a crackpot, but all they want. I think what this is going to do is it's going to force these events. And I'm hoping, the one thing I do hope, that if they do these elevated events, let's say they're 15 to 20 a year, 16 to 20 a year. Okay. All right. So now you've got 21 outside the majors. So we're talking outside the majors, outside the cups. So you've got like 21 events that are going to be also ran events for the most part.
Right.
I think that what's going to happen is potentially, maybe you're going to see money being funneled into the bigger events to create this bigger, more competitive, with the better players in the world on the PGA Tour, that tour. And then the lesser events, I don't think the money's going to quite be there, and potentially maybe even get turned into the Corn Ferry Tour.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, potentially.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I agree.
And then, obviously we're going smaller fields, smaller cuts, smaller everything. Everything's going to get smaller with less players, as long as we still have a cut and we still have a minimum, in my opinion, of 100 players.
Yeah.
In an event. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
If we go to this 60 or
with
no cut, if we go to no cut events, listen, I'll talk about it because I have to, but I'll be the one to tell you I'm not a huge fan of it.
I think you can get creative. I think you can get creative.
What's that?
I think you can get creative. Like maybe, there's a couple that are 100, and the most of them are 100, and then maybe there's a couple that are 60. I don't know. Like,
well, if you do 100 and you cut to 60.
Yeah, there you go.
Cut to the low 60 in ties. Listen, I know people want to see Rory, even stopping. So if Rory misses a cut in a 100-person event, which the likelihood of that happening is slim and none.
Yeah.
As good as he is.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think you can do 100 people and you can cut to the low 60 in ties.
Yeah.
Again, you're even shortening the fields even more. Don't have to worry about daylight now. Everybody's getting done. You're not restarting in the morning at dark 30 with the lights on like I had to do back in the day at a lot of events. So I think there are some positives that can come of this. And I do think that this can work for the PGA Tour. Is it reactive? Yeah, of course it's reactive. And just people got to get over that. The PGA Tour screwed up. They screwed up. They didn't take the threat as seriously as they should have, in my opinion. And now they have to be reactive. And in my opinion, they're doing a good job to being reactive and doing what they have to do to save the tour.
Mm-hmm. So I'll finish with this. So as we kind of recap this here, and, I'm sitting in the commissioner's office right now and I'm looking at, okay, here's the most important things we have to do. Right. And of course, a lot of what he's doing is what came from that meeting, because the tour or the players are setting forth the direction. They got in the room and like, look, we all committing to this, and we've got to be these elevated events, the Tiger Tour. I think everyone agrees that it's gotten too watered down, and the best players have to play more together, and the PGA Tour has to lead with them in these events. Hey, the PGA Tour is on. Rory, JT, Rahm, Finau. Boom, boom, boom. Hey, the Chiefs are playing the Bucks, Mahomes and Brady. I know they are. They're going to, you get it. Like like the NFL, it's about the shield. I get it. But, and they have the teams and the history of the cities and all that.
Shield doesn't mean much without its stars.
But the stars, who they are, right? And you want to see them. You're turning on. I want to see the stars. I don't want to watch. Look, you know how bad the NFL is with backup quarterbacks? No disrespect.
Listen, I the last 5 years as a 49er fan have been brutal, Trav. I mean, I love Jimmy G. Love the guy. Great leader, great locker room guy. Got us to a Super Bowl. But if it's up to watching Jimmy G or Tom Brady, I'm gonna go picture in picture, and I'm probably gonna have Brady on on the bigger screen,
Yeah.
and my Niners on the little screen.
Right.
I want to watch Tom Brady throw it
You want
around.
to watch the best. You do.
I want to watch Rodgers throw it around the field. I want to watch Mahomes throw it around the field.
Yep.
Those are the guys I want to watch. I agree. I want to watch Kyler Murray run all over the place and chuck it around the field.
That's right.
So,
and you can't go weeks on end like we did in July, and they're not playing. So it's like that's a problem, like this is not good. I get it. You've got to have opportunity for the other membership, and it's down my list here. But number one, I got to take care of my best. I got to take care of my stars. Look, I'm sorry, Tom Brady is going to get a little more special treatment than the center. I'm just sorry. Like he's going to, he's going to get a little bit more better treatment than the backup corner.
Oh, well, listen, all the tour needs to do is take the pack aside. And I don't know if they've done this or not, and I don't know what the numbers are because I don't see the numbers either. But I would imagine there's a difference between the bigger events with more stars, television rating wise, versus, no offense to these other tournaments, the John Deere, and I'm not just singling out these guys, but you said it first, the John Deere, Rocket Mortgage, 3M, all fine events, all top-notch players for sure, and world-class on the PGA Tour, but not very few top 20 players in the world are playing those events.
Right.
And I agree. You need to get more of those guys together more often. And if they were to take those ratings and sit down with the pack and say, hey, look, show the membership. Let's show the membership.
Yeah.
Look at the ratings with the, 15 of the top 20 in the world versus at a tournament versus the ratings over here. Now, there are other circumstances that can be at play as well. Other things on television. It depends on the week. What's going up against it. So there's a lot of other variables and factors of the television that I now realize being in TV for 10 years. So it's not just a rating. You can't just look at a rating, but it's a decent indicator if you use the right tournaments at the right time to show membership. Hey, look, this is what's going on when the top 15 top 15 out of the top 20, 25 get together. This is what happens when they don't. So, I mean,
and to my point,
when you can give empirical evidence,
and to my point, in 2 weeks, Fortinet, then Sanderson Farms, it's like that's, it's kind of what I'm saying. Like we roll out the fall schedule, and it's going to be much of that same. And look, so you got the best players, we get it. Number two, there has to be, how do you elevate the entertainment aspect of this? How do you elevate that even more without making it feel like an exhibition and too gimmicky, right? And I think the tour's taken some steps there, for sure. But the entertainment side of golf, and how do you make the players a little more accessible to that, right? And I don't know the answer to that. I'm not an expert in that, but continuing to move the needle in the world of entertainment, not just on property, but in the way that you're consuming it on TV and your handheld, etc. And then I think the third underneath that is then, okay, now you get into that Corn Ferry Tour, and you're telling that you have the up and comers, right? You have the guy that was in the elevated event and kind of fell back, and now he's had to retool, and now he's on his way back up. You have those great storylines, and then you have this phenomenal next Will Zalatoris coming up, that you're going to have, and you're telling those stories of the feeder system that then get to center stage, and now are part of the bright lights, And I think you got to lean in more to these best players have got to go play Phoenix, Aaron.
Yeah.
They got to go play Phoenix. That has to be part of the entertainment. It now it doesn't have to be every week, but I can't. Okay, wait. All due respect, I can't watch the AT&T format anymore. Can't do it. Just can't do it. I mean, you want newspaper, get off my front lawn any more than I love Bill Murray. I love those guys, but I don't want to, that is not part of the nucleus moving forward of entertainment up here. I just don't think it is. Now, wait a minute. You wanted Pebble.
I did, but I take zero offense. We're we're spitballing here,
Has
man.
nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying?
We're two guys who are just throwing out junk out there and trying to figure out exactly how this is going to work and throwing out ideas. So I take zero offense to that.
I didn't even. It just came to me. I was like, wait a minute.
I just think honestly, Trav,
what?
You're onto something, because the times have changed, and the way people consume sports and the way people consume certain types of media and linear television, and the audience is changing as well.
Yeah.
And so the times have to change, and the formats, to a certain extent, the formats have to change somewhat. Do we need LIV format? Absolutely not. I am not a fan of that format.
No.
Not a fan of that format. Can we revamp AT&T Pebble Beach? Yeah, I think we can revamp it. But again, I'm to go old school, because I've got a little bit of that in me as well. You know, when I listen to Peter Jacobson and I listen to John Cook and I listen to the guys that I work with who were fantastic, great players on the PGA Tour who won these events like I did, and who won this event, and were on the pack and on the policy board like Cookie and like Jake.
Yeah.
And I sit there and I listen to these guys. They make great points.
Sure.
It's one of our most, if not our most important event of the year, because of the interaction that the top CEOs and people who sponsor the PGA Tour get to play in. It's their Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's their Super Bowl to play golf at a competitive level with the best players in the world on one of the greatest venues in the world. And that's hard for me to say no to, considering how much money those businesses and those CEOs are putting up for us as players. So I get that part of it. But again, like everything else in this whole deal we're talking about, I've wanted compromise from the beginning, and there needs to be some compromise.
Right. I can't, I mean, Larry Cable Guy's funny, but I can't watch his slice anymore over there. It's like, there's a way to do that. Those points are valid, and I think there's still place to fit. But you look at the field of the AT&T, it doesn't match the golf course, and the saying thank you to these people. The best players don't go there anymore.
Well,
it's unfortunate.
I'll tell you, I played in it plenty, and I can promise you that the 6 to 6.5 hour rounds aren't helping.
There you go.
That's definitely a problem. And that's what happens when you get foursomes. You get two amateurs, and the amateurs are really nervous. They've never been on that kind of stage before.
Yeah.
And a lot of the amateurs can't play to their handicaps that they're given. They're usually higher. Some can, but most can't. And so, and they feel like, since they're in a tournament, I think they feel like they need to putt out.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to tell the CEO from XYZ company who sponsors a huge event on the tour, sorry, Mr. So-and-so, but that's for an 8. Can you please pick that up? That's hard to do. I mean, let's be honest. I had a hard time doing that with the guys.
Sure.
And I wanted to so badly. I'm like, man, I'm in the hole for a 4. We're good. Pick it up. But it's hard. It's hard to say that to to a CEO who's sponsoring a massive event. Now, hopefully, the CEO has enough humility to where it goes, oh my gosh, this is for an 8, or I'm sitting in the fairway in 5, and you're on the green in 2. You're not going to make a 5 or a 6. You're not going to make a 6 for sure. Or I'm going to pick this up. That's you hope that you get players like that. But no matter what you tell the guys at the AT&T, pick up if you're out of the hole. So a lot of guys do it.
Yeah.
Guys don't, which leads to 6.5 hour rounds.
Right. There's a look. I brought up the example of college football, and I'm bringing up the example now of where we are in professional golf. And I think it's going to be really hard for people sitting in those meetings to let go of what has worked in the past before a threat, and to allow yourself to go to somewhere that perhaps you've never been in the way that you think. And I think you got to get new people in the room, and you got to get some of you got to get this broader view of things. Like, there's got to be different people in the room here to think about this, what this is going to look and feel like, and why. I'm not saying you have to make it Phoenix every week, but you do have to lean into social aspect of it a little bit more.
That's why Jason Gore was such a good pickup.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah.
Jason's not a yes man. Jason's not a yes man. I've known Jason for a long time, since we played college golf against each other when he was at Pepperdine and I was at San Jose State.
Okay.
And so we've competed against each other for the better part of, we've competed against each other for the better part of 15, 20 years between amateur golf, mini tours, Korn Ferry Tour, and PGA Tour. And the one thing I know about Jason is he's diplomatic, he's smart as hell, but he's not a yes man.
Good.
And that's what the tour needs right now. The tour needs a guy who's going to be diplomatic, smart as hell, understands a player's perspective, but also understands the business side of it, like Jason does, and understands what needs to happen, and understands compromise. Jason is the reason the USGA hired him.
Yeah.
For the same purposes. A little bit more towards the course setup. PGA Tour might need they don't need, usually our rules are pretty good. The course setups are I don't have too many complaints.
I think they do a damn good job of that. Yeah.
Listen, I love our officials. I think our officials are the best.
I think they do a fantastic job. Yep.
I love all our officials.
Yeah.
I don't think we need help in course setup, but they need help in other aspects. And he's not going to be the yes man to every idea that the bigger brass comes up with, and he's not going to go, yes, that sounds great. He's not going to be like that, the bobblehead going, yeah, let's do that. Jason's not going to do that. He's going to go, he's not going to be Johnny Raincloud and who everything, but he's going to be Johnny Raincloud just enough, I think, to go, wait a second, let's take a look at this, and let's try to shoot holes in it. Because every great idea you can come up with, and there are idea people, and then there are execution people. And the execution people look at the idea people, and usually the execution or the ops people look at the guys with the ideas, and they go, great idea. This is here are some of the drawbacks. And I think that Jason's going to be pretty good at. He's going to be able to poke holes in things that need poking holes in.
Yeah.
To where they can make it better.
Let me ask you one more question, then I'll let you go. Do you think anybody that has went yet, LIV is 3 events in, anybody, and you may not know the answer to this, and you may know the answer to it and you just don't want to share it, and that's fine too. But do you think anybody that has left for the LIV regrets it right now?
Oh, I can't imagine there's not one guy.
Yeah.
I would imagine there's got to be 1 or 2 guys that are sitting there going, this isn't what I was promised.
I got my money. I've seen it now for 3 weeks. I see what's happening over there with the tour.
But I was also told I was going to be able to play both tours. And I also was told we were going to win this lawsuit, and I was going to be able to play the FedEx Cup and so on and so forth.
So I think the answer is probably yes. There's probably 1 or 2 there. Yeah.
I can't answer that definitely.
Yeah.
I've heard rumors that there are some guys going, maybe this isn't all it's cracked up to be, but but I can't definitely say that there are people out there who regret it for sure. But I can't imagine there's not one guy that in the back of his head's going, God, did I make the right decision?
Right. As he's sipping on his drink with an umbrella in it.
As he looks at his bank account and goes, not too bad.
Here, get everybody a drink. Put it on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Aaron, you're the best, man. I appreciate your time. Good. Hey, this is fun just to throw stuff at the wall. I mean, like,
one of my favorite. Whether we sound like idiots or not, it's fun.
No, this is good. We'll do it again. I'll see you in a probably a couple months now, 2.5 months. PXG College Showcase.
Are you going?
I think we're doing it. I think we're doing it back in November, so we'll see.
Are you going to Fortinet?
No,
you're not going there. Okay.
Well, no, I won't be in Fortinet, but I will be at the Shriners.
I will be at Shriners.
Okay, so I'll see you there. I'm going to do some stuff for the show on Tuesday out there. So I will see you in October.
You bet, my man. Thanks for having me.